Hello, everyone, and welcome to Friends of the Force, a Star Wars podcast. I'm your host, Brad.
And I'm your host, Sarah.
And this week on the show, we are returning to the High Republic era here on the podcast. We are discussing A Valiant Vow by Justina Ireland, which is the final middle grade novel of the High Republic as part of Wave 3, Phase 3 of the 3 phases of the 9 waves of the 27 total waves. We've been through a lot, folks.
We've been here for a long time.
My bones hurt. If you showed me a side-by-side photo of me when the High Republic started and me now currently talking about the High Republic ending, you could spot a couple gray hairs in there, Sarah.
Yeah, it's kind of like Will Lark, just as we imagine him in the first 2 novels of Alphabet Squadron, and then him on the final on Victory's Price cover with a beard, and you're like, oh, he's seen some stuff.
Ooh,
it's kind of like
yeah.
us too, a little bit, except I've not grown a beard.
I love my beard when I do grow it. It's usually a winter thing, though.
I think there was one time when I hopped on the Zoom call and I was like, oh, that's a new look. Who's that guy? Never met him.
It's weird because people at work now, when I shave, they go, "Where's your beard?" And I'm like, "Wait, is the beard the default now?" That's something.
Well, you've changed it up. I guess it is the default now.
Like I said, I've changed over these couple of
He's
years.
changed.
You know, talking High Republic with you, and that's what we're doing today. It has been 182 days since we've released an episode about the High Republic.
As of recording.
As of recording today, yes.
Not as of release, because that's going to goof people up on the dates.
No, listeners are going to have to wait a little longer than we.
Make it clear. That's actually a really long time.
Literally half a year?
Hold on. Oh, gosh. They released Phase 3 differently than the rest of them.
They did. We had to wait a very long time.
Oh, man. It's like everything has... I remember reading all these books, right? But like everything is flattened so much in certain ways. That's like, wow, I do not even recall. But yeah, we can only read one book at a time. So it makes sense that they started to release them one book at a time. But it has been quite a while since we've been in Phase 3, for sure.
Yeah. We last had an episode on Tempest Breaker to close out 2024, December 30th. Bold of us to release an episode the day before New Year's Eve. Because we know you party people out there, before you go out for New Year's, get that Friends of the Force episode in, that FOTF.
Yeah. And we also, and it was crazy because we also definitely, pre-gamed the episode, the pre-game, the New Year sort of vibe.
Yeah, for sure.
Obviously.
Pre-game the stories to come. Because we got 3 more. We got 3 more of them. This is the first of 3. I think it's important that we set the stage here for like these next 3 weeks or next 3 episodes that we have.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the end. It's the beginning of the real end. The real beginning of the real end.
We are starting with the Valiant Vow, even though it came out after Into the Light, which is a little bit out of order for us, but that's okay.
But we're going by the Phase 1. We're just following the original release order.
That's right, because
A
Test of Courage came out first on January 4th, right?
Mm-hmm.
All those years ago, January 5th.
I think so. Well, because I had a friend over and we were looking at my bookshelves actually, and I had put all of the books because they fit into one shelf on the Billy bookcase, the IKEA Billy bookcase, guys. These are all the bookcases I have, and you have to squeeze them in there, but like all of the regular books, not the audio dramas or Tales of Light and Life, kind of fit in that single shelf. But then I realized that I was doing middle grade, or I was doing adult book, YA middle grade, adult book, YA middle grade, adult book, YA middle grade. And then because the release was different on Phase 3, I was doing adult book, middle grade, YA. My friend was like, what happened? So maybe I have to go back and change it just so it kind of has that cascading all the way through.
You got some shelf organizing to do.
I know. It's always a big question mark on how to organize the shelves.
But we've come to the end. We have many a book on our shelf now to organize. We pretty much have the whole collection at this point. So
no, like
all those years ago, we were so worried about how are we going to find the space, and we've managed, and we've managed to also continue covering every single one of these books over the last 3 years. So kind of going into this final
3
3-book
years.
arc, 3 to 4
You mean
years.
4 years.
Time compresses. It's fine.
And we're
It's
like
all,
on
it's
our
all good.
5th year.
Yeah,
Because
that's
it's
true.
21, 22, 23, 24, 25. That's like 5 years total.
But we're coming into the final stretch, the home stretch here. We got 3 more books to cover. We're starting with, I would say, the smaller of the stories, and then we'll go into the light, and then we will close things out with Trials of the Jedi. We have read all 3. Obviously, we won't spoil anything to come in those other books. This is singularly focused on A Valiant Vow, what happens within this story. We might get a little bit into spoilers for Wayseeker, because I think there are some fitting loose ends that we can maybe talk to, but that will be at the very tail end of this episode, like very loosely, very briefly. So it's not going to be a huge component of this episode. But yeah, we are beginning this journey, Sarah.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of sad. This is the last middle grade book discussion.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll have some other banger middle grade books though to come, like in the years ahead.
Certainly.
Like
I'm certainly
publishing ain't going nowhere.
Right. But I'm sad in the meantime.
Yeah, we will have a Sarah Cries jar for these next 3 episodes. So listener, if you're trying to save up for that vacation, if you're trying to save up for that car, you're trying to save up for a home, whatever you're saving up for out there, okay? Go get a jar. Pause the episode. Okay, you're back. You have your jar. Great. Now get your coins. Get your coins ready. Get your dollar bills ready. Okay? Every time Sarah cries on one of these episodes, you put whatever currency denomination you want in there. By the end of these 3 episodes, listener, you will get that car. You will get that vacation. You will get that home. Go you.
I don't think we can. I mean, it's like really expensive to do like a down payment with like a doable mortgage. So I'm not sure if they're going to get the home, but maybe some of the other stuff.
Hey, if you can't afford that car, maybe a unicycle is the way to go. It's never too late in life to learn how to ride a unicycle.
I support listeners getting a unicycle if I cry a bunch. Like, I think that's very funny, actually.
Yeah.
I imagine the humor in that. Like, oh, why'd you get the unicycle? Well, Sarah cried a lot one time. Well, 3 times. Well, more than 3 times, but across 5 hours worth of podcasting. I am likely to cry over these next couple episodes for sure, though, because I was thinking about the end of the High Republic the other day, and I was getting a little emo, and that's just who I am. That's just who I am at the end of the day, and I just have to accept it.
Well, hey, speaking of unicycles, we are all just living in the one great wheel of life here in the galaxy far, far away. So let's not mince words any further. But before we get started, Sarah, you have a bookstore you wanted to highlight before we get into this episode.
You really tried with that transition, but you said wheel of life instead of circle of life. And so I am going to point it out. Not your best transition. I am putting it lower on your transition list, but no worry.
Hey, Sarah, what shape is a wheel?
Circle, Brad.
Okay, that's what I thought. Continue. Okay, that's what I thought. Continue.
But you have to get the phrase right if you're going to do it.
No, I want to hear your bookstore. Give the listeners the bookstore. Where should they buy their books, Sarah? In this great wheel of life that we live in. How about they get on their unicycle and go to that bookstore to buy this book?
Oh, God.
Give the people what they want, Sarah.
I'm going to quit the pod. And I'm going to do it while crying. So you could put a coin in your jar. Damn it. Okay. The bookstore of the day is White Whale Books and Coffee, White Whale Bookstore in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. They are a general bookstore that has a bit of everything and also has events and lots going on their website and store. They seem to be very busy, very happening, and have lots of books and seem like an inviting place to be. They were founded in 2012 after a year of selling used books all over Pittsburgh at a pop-up stall. They then opened the East End Book Exchange, which was a brick and mortar shop in Bloomfield, Pennsylvania. And then they expanded into a White Whale bookstore. So I think that that's pretty cool that they've kind of grown over the past decade, and that they have a broad range of things. So whether you want the Star Wars book or you want the latest big fiction book or you want to find some nonfiction, you probably can find it there, as well as if you are local to the Pittsburgh area, perhaps attend an event. It seems like they have many coming up and they have great graphics for their events, which I always genuinely love. So you can find them at whitewhalebookstore.com, and you can find audiobooks from them on Libro and ebooks from them on bookshop.org. And so this is my general plug, as well as that ebooks are now on bookshop.org. This is relatively new, and this is just a general PSA because I think it's awesome. If you are looking for a great alternative to Amazon or other big ebook places and want to support your local independent bookstore at the same time, you can now not only support them on Bookshop through your physical book purchases, but ebooks as well. So I just want to shout it out because I am a bookshop.org fan. So whitewhalebookstore.com and bookshop.org and Libro FM, all of my faves.
Excellent. We love a good bookstore here on the pod. So go check them out. Go take your unicycle to your local bookstore and enjoy.
That's right. And with that, we're also going to enjoy today's book with everybody because we're here to talk about A Valiant Vow. Brad's laughing at my transition. I can't win. All I do is get made fun of on this podcast.
No, I set you up for the slam dunk there, and you just came in Michael Jordan over my head, 10-foot vertical.
I got a big jump, you know?
That's a Chicago reference, Michael Jordan. That's where you live.
Yeah.
See, you're trying to tie it together.
Sports.
And guess what shape basketball is?
It's a sphere.
Also a 2D though. It's a circle.
But it exists in a 3D.
Just like a wheel.
Space.
Just like a wheel. Okay, so let's get started with A Valiant Vow by Justina Ireland. So this will be full of spoilers ahead. Fair warning. So just if you want to go read the book first, come back later. Do your thing, listener, or just stick around for the vibes. So A Valiant Vow. This is, as I mentioned, is a much smaller story for phase 3, probably the smallest story that we've gotten, and I think smallest in terms of scale and consequence in a way that, you know, it's a very isolated incident in this book that our Jedi are forced to solve. However, I think there's a theme that we'll talk about in ways that those small incidents and small acts can have bigger consequences, even if we don't necessarily see those consequences in the book itself, right? Kind of that ripple effect idea in Star Wars that we've been toying around with for the last couple years or so, especially think it back to Nemec's manifesto, but more on that a little later. But I think at the end of the day, the cool thing about this book was that we got a little bit more of the characters we were just introduced to in phase 3, like Tep Tep, like Zenny Greylark, like Churl the Hutt, and most importantly, Imri, who, I don't know about you, Sarah, but Imri was somebody we clocked right away when we started this journey all those years ago. One of our first book discussions ever, and he had a pretty tumultuous journey in that book, and here he is sort of rising above the top to close things out and leaving us on a hopeful note. So, but I'll pause there, Sarah, and see, you know, what did you think of this book and what really stuck out to you?
Yeah, I think that this book overall was a fun adventure. I think I listened to it pretty much in one evening. So it was like a quick, fast-paced read. I will say that I probably would have had a more enjoyable time if I had read the physical book as opposed to the audiobook. The audiobook narrator just didn't totally click with me. But overall, it was still an enjoyable Star Wars time. I think what really stuck out to me were the characters here. Of course, Imri. I was so thrilled to have Tep Tep back, and Churro. Like, I am a Churro fan, let it be known. I think, you know, last time Churro popped up, I talked a decent bit about Churro, so I'm glad that he's back. And there's some really interesting thoughts in here, just like within the state of the galaxy and with the planetary government that were interesting. So there are a lot of interesting threads in here and they came together well. I think this book had a nice emotional punch at the end. It was a nice book.
Yeah, I definitely walked away with the beginning and the end kind of hitting me the most because those are Vern and Emery focused more so than anything else in this book. And coming off of Wayseeker, both of which are going to be just Justina Ireland's final Star Wars books, as she announced on Blue Sky a while back. So that's worth noting, and it was cool that they both released the same day for her. So
Kind of a huge book release day. Holy
yeah,
moly.
yeah, back in May. So we're definitely gonna miss Justina, but I'm glad she got to close out with two of her faves. So I agree, by the way, on the I've always struggled going back and forth with audiobooks and physical, and this is like a very mini rant here, but the narrator, I'm starting to realize as I do more Star Wars audiobooks, can be make or break for me and how I perceive a book. And I think I also would have had a better time reading this than listening to it because the narrator was just so like not the mood for me. Not the mood, but I might go try to revisit this at some point by reading the book and see if I can come out of it with a little bit of a different taste or opinion on it. But overall, I had a good time. I didn't have a bad time. I had a good time. We know, the meat and the potatoes of this phase is really trials more so than
Hmm.
anything else. That's the culmination of everything. So we're kind of all just going towards that point,
Yeah.
and this is sort of just like a fun side adventure towards that end goal. And it did what it needed to
Yeah.
do.
And it had like, and we'll talk about it, but like the closure for Emery's journey here is really nice to see. And this is what I was getting emotional about earlier was like, man, we were first introduced to Imri like in 2021. We've known him for a long time. And so not to totally derail to Wayseeker, but to know where he lands now, to know where he lands in this moment, in this part of the story, and where he lands, through the rest of his life is it's interesting. There's something bittersweet in the knowing, but it is also rewarding to have followed his journey for so long as a character. And to follow all these journeys of the characters that we've met along the way, even though we haven't known, Tep Tep or Churro for like a super long time, getting more of their stories is really delightful. So it's just like, wow, man, wow.
Yeah, why don't we start there with Emery because we've been with him the longest at this point, and you're right. He has such a fitting end. The cool thing with Emery is when we first met him and he lost Master Douglas Sunvale, which feels like eons ago to even mention Douglas Sunvale.
For real.
That's a deep cut. He lost him, and we see Emery nearly fall to the dark side in a test of courage. And I thought I remember like reading that back in the day, and that really struck me that we were going to those places and that we saw a Padawan really teeter on the edge there for a moment between light and dark, and to have Vern be somebody who can pull him back from that ledge and remember that he is a Jedi and that loss happens and that it's okay to feel attached, but it can't drive us. It can't drive every action that we take. It can't dominate our lives, just like any other emotion that we experience. At the end of this book, to now taking on a Padawan in Tep Tep, he has grown so much. We were missing him for quite some time. After the fall of Starlight, he went into a bit of exile, or I think I don't know if it was exile or we just didn't actually know what happened to him. And Vern was worried because she thought maybe he was dead. And then just to find out that he's sort of in the occlusion zone doing his thing, helping out people. And he's not a fighter at heart. He doesn't want to join a war. He doesn't want to fight any more battles. He's seen too much loss. He just wants to do some good in the galaxy, and that's admirable.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's what makes him such a nice character and like such a good character is over this time and um seeing who Vernestra is and also knowing her influence on him and seeing him grow because like the thing with these characters and we see this throughout um Light of the Jedi or Into the Light of the Jedi. What is this? 2021 Into the Light in parentheses 2025 and Trials of the Jedi that these characters who started as tweens and teens have really grown up in a lot of ways and they've become they've become themselves in ways that are like really rewarding to see, and they've become leaders. Um, and I think that that's awesome. And I think that Imri becoming a leader and really sticking to his core ideals throughout this story is really important.
Yeah, I will say too, in terms of his core values, one thing that really struck me was those echoes of his past from A Test of Courage, like when he was at his lowest moment, those still sit with him. And I really like how Justina alluded to that in the story, not just saying, "Hey, that's something that happened. He got past it. He's grown. Doesn't matter anymore to him." He's very regretful of that moment in his life. There's a point where he's sort of thinking about how comfortable the past can be, but he recognizes that dwelling on the past and wanting to go back to a point in a point in time in your life where maybe you were with somebody or maybe you were living somewhere, it's a dangerous path, because that opens up the door to so many other emotions that can really send you into a spiral. It's not healthy to cling on the past. Like, live in the now, right? We all have futures ahead of us in our lives, and we've all had places that we've been and loved, but those places aren't always the same for us throughout our life. They take on new meanings, and even if you do go back there, they're never the same. And so he recognizes that even though he's very comfortable on Ariko helping these people, and there's the possibility that he might have to leave and go out into the galaxy and spread light wherever he can, that does kind of scare him. But at the same time, he recognizes there is value in like leaving the place where you're comfortable. And that's something that's really been a through line for all these middle grade books, is venturing beyond your comfort zone, going out into the world, embrace the unfamiliar, and I think that's something along the lines of the final sentence of the book. The light of the force was all around them, and no matter what came next, he was certain they would face it with empathy and hope.
Yeah, what a good ending line.
Yeah, it's nice, because it's like, no matter how scared you might be, if you anchor yourselves around those two emotions, anything's kind of possible, And I feel like we all feel that at the current moment in our lives as well, when so much is uncertain and scary and unknown.
Yeah, and I think that they're like, let's talk about, I think the scope of this book a little bit too, because I think the uncertainness and the scariness and the unknown is baked into that, because we're on Ariko, and Yasek, Sparkburn, and Imri have, I'm gonna call it like a day camp, because they don't have a temple outpost or anything like that, but they are teaching younglings about the force, and they are training people, to a degree. And it's a bit of an unofficial but important task for them on Ariko, especially considering Ariko seems to be like a transient place. Nobody's from Ariko. Everybody is immigrating here because of being displaced by the occlusion zone and all of that. So it's a place where having that sort of structure or stability for these younglings and having this instructional environment is a good thing for them. But we're at this point in the seasons where they're about to be covered by storms for the next 6 months. So the time is ticking, and their ability to get out and move on, thanks to the collapse of the storm wall, that choice has to be made quickly or they get a bit stuck. And so it's not just Imri and Yasek that are facing this decision, but all of the people of Ariko. And so that, I think that's an interesting spot for them to be in, because this moment is so... This moment that they're in is scary, and the storm wall coming down is like this ray of sunshine being let into this planet, but also there are still so many questions that are unanswered. What is the scope of the storm wall coming down? What is am I safe to go? What is the situation out there? Where can I go? And we find out that it's unsafe, because these ships keep crashing. And they have these droid marks, like on them. They've been scavenged essentially while in the air. So that makes the whole situation pretty unsafe. And also the time is of the essence. So I really felt that when we were going into this. And I think that the uncertainty of the moment is weighing on all of our characters, not just, of course, on our characters on Ariko.
Yeah, a note on Ariko as well. And the decision to either have people leave or stay. I thought it was really interesting that the government gave them a path to citizenship and said you could stay. Imagine a concept like that. Imagine that.
Are you suggesting that it's potentially a good thing to welcome people into your home, and to make them a part of your community, and grant them equal status within your community? It's just like a general good thing that we should be doing.
Yeah, a general good thing. Like why kick people off your doorstep for no other reason than fear and hatred?
Right.
And instead embrace them and make them a part of your community because they're hardworking and loving individuals who have families and goals and aspirations. Imagine a path to citizenship for all, because why the heck not? Anyways, so
We're living in a moment.
Speaking of living in scary moments and times.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to like one of these old lessons that Imri is reminiscing on from Vernestra, where she tells him, there is no sense in worrying over those things we cannot change. We are Jedi, forever moving forward, becoming better, adapting, changing. You can as well, Imri. This will be good. And if it isn't, well, there is something better beyond this trial. Everybody's facing their own trial. And I love this idea that Vern is hammering into Imri's head, who has lost Master Sunveil, who has lost any sense of home because he's now kind of unmoored himself from where does he belong in the galaxy? And he finally finds a place like Arico, and he's got to leave again, right? And so that's a little bit of an unmooring feeling, and the friends that he has lost along the way. And it's like you cannot change, a lot of the things that are external to you, right? In many ways. And so like, what can you focus on that you can change, that you can change, and you can control? And focus on putting your energy into those things. How can you make yourself have a better experience in life? And what are the things that do guide you? And who are you as a person? And how can you spread that to people around you to the best of your ability? And I think that's ultimately where he comes to in this book, is like, yes, I love it here, but and the galaxy is a scary place. The storm wall is down, that there's scav droids everywhere. But if I do leave this place, I can maybe go help other folks who also lack that control in their life, and who are also afraid of the uncontrollable, right? And give them a sense of control back in their lives by providing the light, and by being a Jedi, and by adapting when others can't. I don't know if any of that made sense, but I really, really like that lesson. There's something to learn there, that like, don't worry what you can't control.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that we always come back to is like, man, the lessons in the middle grade books are just really good, which makes sense because they're books written for tweens who need lessons. And I mean, we need lessons too. And so it's good to be reminded of these important fundamentals that, maybe I think when we become an adult, it's like we forget to learn, or forget to remind ourselves about these things. And I think that it's good things to have a reminder.
Oh, totally. I feel like that's every book discussion that we have over the middle grade, is like coming back to these rudimentary things,
Let us have our moments of being like, you know what? Love thy neighbor as yourself is a good thing to, sometimes we just need to be reminded explicitly that like these fundamental lessons, they're fundamental for a reason. So, living out your morals, and, embracing change, and living with hope, and engaging with the world in a way engaging with the world around you in a way that it's not about control, but about moving with the world. Like these are all
right.
These are all valid things.
And I think I don't have the exact science, but the science of reading books often leads to you being more empathetic, and maybe it is because a lot of these books contain lessons that you learned in your childhood, and if you forget them because you're so insulated in your own life and your own experience, and you have no other care in the world, it's easy to grow selfish.
Yeah.
And so to read these books and these stories with these characters is a powerful thing. Reading is important.
We talked a little bit about Imri's journey, and kind of him. You mentioned him going to the dark side, or considering going to the dark side, and him kind of here we mentioned him teaching the younglings, and now he's faced with whether to stay or to go, and what to do. Um, and I can we talk about his end a little bit, like the end of this book? I know we're kind of there's a lot happening here, and we're kind of focusing on Imri, but we kind of want, but Imri's important. Imri's important. Dang it.
He is the key to all of this, one might say.
He is the key to all of this. But I want to like mention Imri taking on Tep Tep as a Padawan, because we were first introduced to Tep Tep in Escape from Valo, which was written by Daniel Jose Older and Alyssa Wong. And I'm on Wikipedia as well, just because I like having like an image of the characters at least. And this behind the scenes quote from Alyssa Wong reads, and then there's Tep Tep, who is a perfect angel. She's very sweet, shy, and just bubbly. Tep Tep is my spouse's favorite, and her design's based off of one of the fancy curly pigeons. Like I love Tep Tep so much, because she is the sweetest, just most loving, generous of spirit kind of a girl, you know? And so when she was in this book, and ultimately when Imri took her on as a Padawan, I was really emotional about that, because you see it on my face. I'm getting a little bit of color on my face. I'm thinking
listeners, get the jar, listener.
Put it next to you. But I just thought that this was so perfect, because Vernestra took on Imri as a young person in a moment of crisis, and was able to impart valuable lessons and be a good leader for him in the time that they were training together. And I think that to have someone with such empathy and heart, and such a thoughtful person like Imri taking on Tep Tep as a Padawan, who is so sensitive and full of heart and sweet, it was so perfect to me. I didn't expect it. I really didn't expect it. And so when we got that at the end, I was like, oh my God, he's grown up. Like, and Tep Tep is she's going to grow up. And I was just, it made me so hopeful. And so, like my heart was so warm because of this, because it was so fitting. It was unexpected, and it was fitting, and it was lovely.
Yeah, they felt like such a natural pairing once it did happen. And I've been a huge Tep Tep fan, especially ever since, again, spoilers for Escape from Valo, which came out last year, but the moment she goes into the ship at the end of the book and tries to communicate with the Nameless, I was like, Tep Tep is the coolest freaking youngling of all time. Like, there's no other person who would do that except for Tep Tep. And, she's really good at listening to people's feelings and talking to people and understanding creatures. Her baby, what's the Nexu, the baby Nexu that she has throughout much of the book.
Was it the Acklay?
No, the Acklay was also, they were all in Lilnisa Zoo, but she has a little baby Nexu.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
My bad. Oh yeah, it is, because it's on the cover. My bad. I was just really delighted. I was thinking about, the Geonosis Serena trio.
The Sacred Three. Yeah. But I this really did warm my heart. And for me, who was, sort of middle of the road on this book in general for much of it, and that's no discredit to the way it was written or anything. It's just your kind of average adventure. When I got to the end of this book, that's when it really hit home for me. And it's probably the most emotion I felt, because I was listening to the audiobook, and most of the time you're doing chores, you're doing laundry, you're doing dishes, you're getting your Star Wars fix. Nice. Yeah, that's a good one. Actually, I should do more puzzles. The moment we got to the epilogue, or like close to the epilogue, when he asks her to be his Padawan, I kind of like put everything down and I started listening very intentionally, because I like, my whole body was like, wait. And my brain was like, wait. My heart was like, wait. All of me was like, oh, I'm sad. And I started feeling things, and it was just like, again, like that moment of growth for Imri, of like, when we first met him, he was about to be the dark side. He was about to go to the other side of the river.
Like, he was in such pain. Yeah.
Yeah. And here he is taking that pain that he's had throughout his entire life and channeling it into something good. And that in of itself is a small act of courage, a small test of courage. It is him passing his trial. It is so many things. It's wonderful.
I just want to read a little bit of this page, if that's okay, because he goes, well, I'm going to help out in the temple on TK, Imri said, trying to pretend he wasn't nervous. And if you're going to be my Padawan, you'll have to come with me. So what do you say? Would you like to work with me? You can say no. He said quickly when it looked like Tep Tep was going to cry. Bless her, I love her. But the small Alcadian, I have not actually said that out loud. Alcadian girl launched herself at Imri, hugging him around the neck and making him laugh. Yes, yes, I'll be your Padawan, she squealed before dropping to the ground and clearing her throat. And I promise I won't always be so un-Jedi-like. And he says, and if there's anything I know, it's that the Order needs all kinds of Jedi, even those who are maybe a little bit too excited at times. Imri said with a smile, now come on, let's go see where Yasek wants us. I think the ships are getting ready to leave. And it's just like the loveliest, like, you know, if you're gonna come with me and be my Padawan, then like, you know, like, I don't know. It's soft. It's sweet. It's lovely. Besties forever.
And we'll talk more about Imri's future in a bit. I want to save that a little bit more towards the end since it's like Wayseeker spoilers. But I do want to, on the topic of Tep Tep, one strength that he acknowledges with her is her ability to solve small arguments. And she does ask Imri for help when there's a bigger problem. And I want to kind of sit with that idea for a bit. I'm like, small arguments, small things. It's how we open up this book. There's this flashback with Vern and Imri, and Imri's trying to levitate a leaf, and he's struggling with it. And Vern is trying to help him look past sort of the. It's funny because when we think of lifting things, like it's like lifting rocks or like lifting the X-wing. And those are big objects, right? Those are like giant objects. It's like, how does he lift an X-wing? But it's funny how this book is like lifting a leaf. You know, that's kind of tough. That's still kind of tough in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Did you want to talk a little bit about this quote from what Vern tells Imri, and I think this would be a great place to discuss this.
Yeah, can I read the quote?
Yeah.
Small things matter. A single pebble can start a landslide. One drop of water can overfill a cistern. Being able to control the tiniest of movements with the force is important because while it may be impressive to lift a large boulder, it may be crucial to stop a small projectile from injuring a person. So we must consider our actions both large and small. The Order is not solely about using the force. It's about using the force in ways that seem small and meaningless in the moment, but in the end matter in big ways. I love this quote because it's one, just first of all, incredibly thoughtful. But two, you know, it speaks to a couple of things that I think have been on our minds this year. The first of which, of course, as the 20th of Rots is, you know, one lone candle can ignite the stars. But the second, of course, is, you know, Nemec's manifesto and how one small action can inspire another small action and it becomes unstoppable. And so I think that both of these ideas are seen here. And I think it's the importance in all of these kind of quotes is the idea that we can each make a difference, not just in our world, but in the world of others, even with the smallest actions. And I think that, this is a really valuable lesson for any person to learn, especially while you're young.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the it takes a village is very cliche, but we all have a part to play, right? We can't solve the big problems solely by ourselves, but we, you know, going back to the idea of like, what can we control? Well, you can control going to your local protests. Calling your representatives, right? Like these are, you know, thinking of the rise of fascism in our lives at the moment. I would say I say rise of fascism very lightly because we're like basically there already, and we have been. But you know, what are the small things that we can do every day that affect change, or you know, keep that candle lit? Because you know, fascism wants you to feel divided. Fascism wants you to feel like the small things don't matter and won't matter and can't change anything. And they want to snuff out that candle. They want you to feel alone in the dark.
And I think that that's also like the idea, both in the quote and in our real lives, of like community and just showing up for the people around you. And I think that's like a huge part of bringing on Tep Tep is Imri showing up for her. and being like, I see you, I acknowledge you just as the person that you are, and let me nurture you into being a better, more mature version of that person in the years to come. And I think that that's like a really beautiful thing. And, um, I think that that is also the message that they're taking, that Imri is practicing at the beginning of the book when he's teaching the younglings on Ariko, is like, I don't know what the future holds for us. I don't know any of this, but let me teach you some valuable things in the here and now. It might be small, it might not be important to you right now, but it might teach you something about yourself or about the Force that allows you to grow stronger in your sense of identity, and also be able to protect yourself. And I think that that is a really, really valuable thing.
It's sort of funny to open the book with this idea as well, because we mentioned up front, this book is not large in scale by any means. It is a small thing. It is a small story. It's a small adventure. But the point of this book is that small things do matter, and it is a single pebble can start a landslide, right? So even when you read this book and you're like, yep, that was a fun run of the mill adventure, think about all the people's lives in this book who are impacted by the actions of the Jedi on this one planet, by Churro the Hutt, whose bravery and courage, and we'll talk about Churro in a moment, but his courage to rise above expectation and find a different way of doing things, right? And to go out into space and fix the satellite, no matter how scary the emptiness of space may seem, right? Like, you're just fixing the communications on one planet, not every planet, but that's that one small act that inspires others to maybe carry that light forward. So regardless of however much they'll do in the end of the High Republic, it matters here and now. Like, their actions here and now affect many people. And yeah, I think it was cool to kind of tie it all together.
Right. And in the story too, like, we have Zenny Greylark. I almost said Zenny Sparkburn. Incorrect. Zenny Greylark, who has lost her dad. Her and her sister have lost their dad. But it's the events of this story and Zenny caring for her friend that ultimately land herself on Ariko, where she ultimately is her and Lexi are reunited with their father, who they thought was gone. And that's monumental for all of them. So I think that's one of those like beautiful small things, like the actions on this planet led to this absolutely revelatory moment for the Greylark family, who was reunited after all this time and all this despair. And I think I thought that was such a beautiful moment. And I also, while I'm yapping about Zenny for 2 seconds, I just really love her introduction in this story when we get her first POV chapter, because the sentence is really good. I would like to read it for you. Zenny Greylark, human, 12, and incredibly annoyed, plopped into the chair in her lavish room and sighed. Like, the drama. Human, 12, and incredibly annoyed. I too was human, 12, and incredibly annoyed. But no, I really thought that like the reunification of Zenny and Lexi and Tristan Greylark was such a special moment in this book.
This whole book just feels like the great Beatles song from Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, with a little help from my friends. A lot of these chapters when I was listening to them was just basically like, let's go help our friend.
It really was. It was like, oh, we're going to help the governor of the planet because we care about the people around us. And then Zenny's like, ooh, we need to help Churro. Let's go help Churro. And that's really how all of it happens. They're like, let's help our buddies. And then Churro's like, oh my God, my sister is here, but I want to help we have to fix this problem. And he's like, you know what, sister, have you heard of negotiating before? Let's do that. Let's help our friends. Like,
meanwhile, the young adult books are like the metaphysical threat, the existential dread, the fundamental nature of the nameless. What do we do? This book's just like, I like you. Let's be friends. Can I help?
See this? I mean, well, this is the difference between middle grade and YA too. Like the middle grade books are about tweens coming into themselves and like understanding how to navigate social situations that they're in. And then YA books are about young adults coming into the world and navigating the world. And the world is a much more vast and daunting place than, the lunch
Very
table.
true. Yeah.
But not when you're 12. The lunch table is the biggest thing, and that's why these books are about the lunch table,
Yeah, totally. And I don't say that either to like degrade the middle grade genre. I love the middle grade genre. We've been here. We've been reading these books and talking about these books, but like that is the joy.
Race to Crash Wayne Tower, top 3 High Republic book. Period. Thank you.
Facts, actually. I think that might be my favorite middle grade book of the High Republic overall, followed closely by A Test of Courage. But I just love that there is so much levity to these books, and it is a nice break from the dread, from the violence of the YAs of the adult books, and the many husking moments. Granted, Beware the Nameless had some husking in it as well. It's good to have a moment of just being like, yeah, your friends matter, and sometimes that's all you can do is help your community, help your friends. And that's the smallest possible thing you can do in a moment of fear.
Yeah. Can we talk about Churro?
Yeah. Best hut name ever.
It's so very funny to me.
Are you kidding me?
It's like objectively really funny to me. I just want to talk about Churro because we've mentioned Churro in the past, and I think that Churro is a great character because he's different and he wants to pave his own path, and he wants to live his own life and not be under the weight of his species, his family, and have the hut kind of carry its reputation with him. And I just think he's a sweetie pie. He's a sweetie pie. I want him to show up in more things. I really do like him. But he ends up going to do science. He leaves the huts. He said, they'd say, go do your own thing. And so he goes and does his own thing. And he's with Professor Kip. And Professor Kip has made choices and gotten herself a little entangled with the huts. Not her best move, but it is what it is. We keep on keeping on, as Churro does. Although he does avoid the heck out of his sister to the best of his ability. Unfortunately, he does leave a trail in the fields in which he slithers through. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't have the ability of stealth as he is a hut, and he is not bipedal. But he really tries to fix the situation for everybody, and not only just in the science scheme of things, but also in just teaching out everybody how to live a little bit better. Let's be honest. Let's negotiate a little bit.
He loves sharing knowledge.
Yeah. His
knowledge is a gift.
Yes. And his knowledge of the sister is like, you're going to see me in this way, but I want to be this person. And I'm going to show you that I can do it by having this moment. And also, I hope that you see that I'm worthy of this. Own my own direction too. And because he does not like the fighting. Him and the fighting, they're like, no, makes him feel ill. Like, let's not.
Right. And like the whole thing with the huts and Professor Kip is they want to take this bora flower that or this
the glocka
root that's on Arico, which is like a very valuable resource, and they want to harvest it, they want to use it. And Churro's been studying bora flower propagation, which is a way to basically have a crop grow anywhere that you'd want it to very quickly. This would be especially useful for the Bacta on Hetzal, which is currently an occupied territory. So a lot of important science going on here, but long story short is that Dahara and the huts want to essentially enslave the people of Arico and make them work, make them harvest this glocka root so the huts can profit, the huts can use it, and then Professor Kip can also benefit from it as well from a scientific standpoint. And Churro's like, wait, what if we just ask the Jedi to help us transport some of the glocka root in exchange for if we help these people get safe passage off Arico? It's a little give and take. He tells his sister, it's called a gesture of goodwill.
And it's like,
what a concept.
Yeah.
Yeah. So far, we got a gesture of goodwill, a pathway to citizenship, be nice to your neighbor, help your community. Small things matter. We're just learning the fundamentals. Yeah, the basic things that you think, adults should know, but
he's teaching his older sister the gesture of goodwill, which I think is kind of an important moment too, because it's like, hey, I know you're doing what you know, but also if you try this, you'll not just succeed, but you'll succeed with goodwill. Just in general, you'll succeed with more positive feelings with the people that you're interacting with. And there's value in that too, instead of just conquering people.
Right. How much further can you get when you have the respect of others?
Exactly.
And that goodwill. Yeah,
exactly. And so I thought this whole, like, I guess the more that I think about it, the more that I talk this book, the more that I appreciate this book, because it is bringing all of these pieces together and creating kind of a large narrative for the middle grade. We're following a lot of characters here who have disparate stories until they all come together at the end, and we're all like in the plaza with the huts and Tep and Yasek and the governor and the villagers and everybody, right? In order to save the planet and also save themselves to the best of their ability. So yeah, it's a super interesting. And the more that I think about this book, the more that I'm appreciating this book. This is why I'm glad we have book conversations.
I know. I'm gonna reread it at some point, because I think you're right. Like every character in this book feels like they are totally unmoved, totally like nothing can affect their beliefs. They are steadfast. They believe in their thing and they're sticking to it. Nothing can sway them one way or another, right? And they commit to that, and good things happen because of it.
Yeah, they're characters who have a strong sense of identity at this point. And I love that about all of them, and I really admire all these characters. And so I appreciate that they are, sort of unapologetically being themselves.
Yeah, and I think like being on the journey with the middle grade books, like they have been forming that identity throughout this entire 4-year journey, right? So I think that's what you're kind of getting at too, like the culmination of it all. It's like all led to this. It's like all the lessons that we've learned along the way. It's like here and now is where it matters, and then it will continue to matter here on forward. Again, what a concept in the year 2025 is just to treat people, the golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated. Like kind of wild that we as a society have just completely neglected that rule now. We have been always for time and time, but now more than ever, it's just completely thrown out the window. Decorum is gone.
Right.
Especially in the movie theater. Get off your damn phones. Stop talking. Stop talking. I saw 28 Years Later. Great film. Danny Boyle's back. Teenager next to me, texting on her phone. And I said, please get off your phone. She looked at me like I was a crazy person.
It's not as if she paid money to be there, but whatever.
What are we doing? Put your phones away.
Let me talk about the small things again. Okay, Imri has been, Imri, I want to see, I'm bringing it all together. Okay, let me bring it all together. Okay.
I'm off my soapbox.
Imri, he's like been following the small things advice. So we read the quote at the beginning and we read a quote at the end. He says, small things add up to bigger, more important things. One small thing affects another, or one small thing after another. When people get frustrated or upset or overwhelmed, we pointed them back to the small things, Brad. That's actually in the text in the book. So we pointed them back to the small things, Brad.
I love that he tells Vern this, by the way. It's such a touching moment to be like, that thing you taught me, I still carry it with me. That was a small thing.
And
her telling him this.
And these are all young people who are learning big lessons about small things and taking them with them and becoming better people because of it. And I think that this story is important because of that. Like, these are people who have these small moments that become really big and important moments because they care.
Yeah. I love that when people get frustrated or upset or overwhelmed, we pointed them back to the small things. Like I read that and I'm thinking of the way that we get overwhelmed in our everyday life is like, what can we do when we have a bad day? What can I do? Taking out the, socio-political, economic realities that we're living in. What can I do when I have a bad day? Well, I can go on a walk. I could cook a nice meal. I can watch a TV show. I can watch a book. I can watch a movie, read a book. We have free will. I ate a hot dog before we started this podcast. And guess what? that hot dog brought me joy. Sarah hated that I ate a hot dog, but like, you know what?
I really did.
I really needed the energy in the room, and a hot dog, you know, that's what it was really driving it. But like, those are the things that you can do, that just like those little small things that bring you joy. It's all about joy, finding joy, making sure that nobody in your life can snuff out that joy, that no greater power can snuff out that joy. That is like the one thing we can always hold on to. Nobody can take that away from us, because that's in our little noggin here.
It's almost as if we have a podcast with like finding joy in fandom as like the tagline.
Heyo.
That's crazy.
That's a great tagline. I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah.
Write that down. Yeah.
Yeah. Listener, he did pull out the notepad and made sure I saw it on camera.
For the visuals. This is why we're audio podcast.
That's right. Are there any other things you want to hit on before we jump to odds and ends? Because I feel like we can do odds and ends and then Wayseeker spoilers.
Yeah. Let's do it. Because some of my odds and ends fit into, or my one or two fit into Wayseeker. So,
I got two. I got two.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take it away, Queen.
Number one. What I realized, well, this is not really an odds and ends, it's just an observation, but observations are odds and ends.
Facts.
What I realized is that we, at this point of reading this book, if you read it before you read Trials of the Jedi, you don't actually know why the Stormwall has come down or when that happened.
Yes, that was confusing.
Because like it comes down initially, and then I guess it comes back up, and then it comes down again. And so I was like, when I was listening to some other folks and their reviews, and I was like, wait a second, who are you? I felt like that for a second, because I was like, oh, they're right. We don't actually know at this point. So that's just a funny, silly, goofy little thing. But then when you read Trials of the Jedi, it makes sense. And also if you're like, well, maybe there is no point, that also kind of makes sense. Sometimes the not knowing is the knowing. I feel like that's kind of what March Humor is all about. Anyway, my second one is maybe the most important piece of information out of this entire podcast. And it is Joinke University on Rotha and Renvik College of Agricultural Science on Tivish. Okay. I love an Institute of Higher Learning in the Star War, and we have two more here. Okay. On Cloud 9. On Cloud 9, I tell you.
My odds and ends, I do love a good space moment with our Jedi, like when they go out into space with their little like big bubbly astronaut masks that we see a lot in the Clone Wars make an appearance. And they wear those here. I think we've seen like Keeve Trennis do that a couple of times as well. So I love the moment when they're all fighting the scav droids, and Imri gets a really cool moment. So go Imri.
Go Imri.
Bomb.com. Yeah. But my main odds and ends ties into Wayseeker, which if you have not read Wayseeker and don't want to know anything about Wayseeker, I mean, this will be very light spoiler about what happens to Imri, because we know he survives this book, right? And so like kind of what his fate is on the horizon. So if you haven't read Wayseeker, or if you don't care, we're not going super deep. It's just kind of Imri focused here. But one of my odds and go ahead.
To be clear, it's because it's not a plot spoiler. It's just that Wayseeker, because we're so much further in Vernestra's life, she mentions a couple of things as to like what happened to these 5 characters or whatever.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So Wayseeker, we learn in Wayseeker that Imri, I think within the last like 5-10 years, like passed away in old age. Like it's a very recent loss for Vernestra. And we know at this time in her life, she is a Wayseeker. She's out in the galaxy. And I think in some ways that she is running from that loss. She is still sad by it, right? Vernestra's seen a lot of shit in her life. But what we do learn about Imri is that he ended up becoming a Jedi philosopher, which I thought was really cool, because like this whole book, Imri's all about the lessons, the small things matter. Like he's carrying a lot of these things with him that Vernestra taught him. And at one point, you know, he, after the space battle with the scav droids, he's in the infirmary and he's having a dream where it's this old memory with Vern, and she's telling him about the musings of Kilar Droud, who was a Jedi philosopher, and these other philosophies of the ancients, right? And
Mhm.
so I like to think that some of these things that maybe Vernestra taught Imri when he was her Padawan way back when, maybe they stuck with him. A lot of these learnings it seemed to have a really big impact on him. So I like the idea that he becomes a philosopher and carries those ideas forward for future generations. And the fact that somebody like Indara is reading those philosophies and learning from Imri Cantaros or maybe future Jedi like Ahsoka Tano or Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? And I think that's really, really special to think that Imri left his mark on the galaxy. So did you have any other thoughts on him and his philosophical journey?
I also I thought it was such a wonderful thing that Emery got to live a long and full life. And like as we mentioned on this episode already, like he started in a place of darkness and of loss, and he ultimately got to see his life through. Um he got to learn, he got to impart wisdom, he got to, train younglings, he got to live in the theory and in the philosophy of it all. He got to know Vernestra for a long time. Um, and I think that's a really beautiful thing because not all the characters make it to old age, and especially in Star Wars. It is a war after all. So to know that Emery stuck around for a long time is incredibly heartwarming. And the fact that he was so accomplished by the end of his life is also incredibly heartwarming to me.
Absolutely. I love you, Imri. Oh, man. Big heart emojis. I think we could end on the musings of Kilar Droud. Kilar Droud was somebody who saw potential for Jedi to occupy more facets of life than just protection and diplomacy. Man, isn't that a lesson the Jedi Order could learn in the prequel trilogy? Let me tell you.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And in Kilar Droud, as Imri remembers it, is quote: "It is a Jedi's role to foster light within the galaxy. It is the only way to push back the inevitable darkness, and we must take it. We must take that message of kindness and spread it as far as we can." End quote. And that is all about the living force, baby. That is the here and now. Help the people around you, and I think that's something that we can take away from this book and apply to our own life. We are surrounded by darkness from all corners, slowly and slowly seeping into our lives and many disturbing and unexpected ways. And the most we can do is just, hold that candle, keep holding that light, spread it far and wide, and never let the darkness snuff it out. And we have control over that. We are the architects of our own destiny, and one day at a time, one small thing after another. That's how I walk away from this book. Sarah, anything that you walk away from this book on with final thoughts?
I just want to, it's not about the book specifically, but I would like to express my incredible gratitude to its author, Justina Ireland, considering that Wayseeker and Valiant Vow are her last books. I just want to say how grateful I am for her voice in Star Wars and that she has given us so many characters that we love so deeply and have known for so long now. I appreciate her voice as a person. I appreciate the representation that she has put in her books. And I'm just really glad that she has written Star Wars for so long. I'm really grateful that we got her in this galaxy far, far away. And I really, really would like to recommend her non-Star Wars books to people if they haven't picked them up. There is something for you. For sure. She writes incredibly interesting and complex YA books. I am a huge fan of Rest in the Root, which is like historical fantasy with a little bit of horror and a lot of commentary. Like it's incredibly interesting. Highly recommend. And it's got like archival photographs in it. It's so cool. I can't even explain. She's also got Dread Nation. She's also written more books with Tessa Gratton. So if you love Tessa Gratton's work as well, or you love their work together, then like go read their co-written books, Chaos and Flame. Like I think Justina is great. And so I'm just really glad that Star Wars has given us the opportunity to read so much of her voice in the galaxy far, far away.
Retweet 1,000 times. Justina has been on this podcast one time back in our infancy year to talk about Spark of Resistance, which was the first Star Wars book by her that I read. And I haven't read a lot of her other work, but I hope to one day when I find the time, and maybe I'll have more time to read other non-Star Wars books. But Justina has been nothing but kind and amazing as a person. She's very good people. She stands up for what's right, and she's always been super funny at every convention and panel that she's been on. So she's a wonderful voice, and I'm so appreciative that she's been a part of the Star Wars family. She will be missed greatly in Star Wars, but like Sarah mentioned, she's got a lot of other great work out there. She will continue writing other non-Star Wars books that you should check out if you're a big Justina fan. And she's given us some of our favorite moments here on this podcast with great works in the High Republic, like Path of Deceit, and Defy the Storm and Out of the Shadows, and there's just been so many incredible books. I'm like, with Justina.
A test of courage. I think whenever I think about that book, I think about the moment that it came out in, and like how heavy the emotions we were all feeling were, and like how that book so clearly reflected those emotions in that moment, and it like incredibly difficult to read, but also so important at that time.
Yeah. We've had a pretty special crew with the Luminous authors, and hopefully many of them do return to continue writing Star Wars. But yeah, I think that's a good call out, Sarah. And let's end there. So thank you, Justina Ireland, for your work in the Star Wars galaxy, and best of luck in your future endeavors. We will miss you. But for all of you listening, we're not going anywhere. We're contractually obligated to talk about Star Wars here on this podcast for the rest of our life. I know Sarah's thinking, what did I sign up for? Sarah,
Where's
you signed.
My out?
You signed.
He keeps extending the contract.
I know. But we will be back with more High Republic episodes in the coming weeks. We got Into the Light and Trials of the Jedi, which are going to be behemoths of episodes. We got these are the where it all counts. If you like Egg Talk, let me tell you, you're getting like 4 to 5 hours of Egg Talk. It's gonna be wild. The
problem on top of also liking Egg Talk is that I really like Kashyyyk. That's all I need to say.
Yeah. We got a lot to discuss. Holy moly. So we'll be back. Thank you all for listening. You can find us on all of our socials for our future episodes, and make sure wherever you're listening to drop us a follow, and please leave a kind 5-star review if you wouldn't mind. Helps us pick up some new listeners find the show. We haven't gotten a review in a while, so like if you really do have a couple minutes in your day, please go do that. It would make us feel awesome, and it's super kind if you would do so. So thank you.
Yeah, and also a huge thanks to our patrons who, as I always say, help keep the lights on here at Friends of the Force. They really do. We're so grateful for them. And we have more Patreon exclusive episodes planned for our upcoming months. So patrons, keep an eye out for those. Everybody else, if you want in on those and our past episodes, they are on the Patreon tier, start at just $1. So thank you to Abigail, Andy, Ben, Brian, Cheryl, Clay, David, Emma, Ian, Jennifer, Josephine, Katie, Knights of Friend, Krista, Logan, Lucy, Lindsay, Matthew, Nicole, Rob, Ruth, Santa, Sky Talkers, Soulcatcher, Travis, and Viglyph. We are so grateful for all your support. And it's super hot out right now. So please make sure that you are hydrating and hydrating well. Water is the best thing for you. Seriously.
80 ounces a day, folks, minimum. I'm watching you, listener.
Oh, stop! Stop! Why are you threatening them? I'm just trying to impart the wisdom of water. Like, I was out for like an hour in like the 100-degree humid heat, and I was suffering. So, take care of yourselves. It's a difficult time out there, both weather-wise and life-wise. So, take care of yourself. Hydrate. Thank you.
Small things do matter. Have a glass of water. That's a small thing. Good things will come. Thank you all for listening, and until next time, may the Force be with you always.